climate change on this most recent development, heat waves that we've been having. And I want to do another video later on this most recently released report on UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, or I call it UFO. Let's stick with what I know. I want to come at you with the facts and the precise numbers with the UFO stuff. So, this last couple of days, it's been a heat wave in Canada. It's been a heat wave in the Pacific Northwest. I think they said that you've had like 3 days over 100 degrees in Washington, and I think we've had that over the last 3 days. And Canada, over 115 degrees. It's quite intriguing to me. To see this. I've said this many times before, and I don't like to talk about it because it's kind of depressing. And I'm trying to not be so negative. I've had some friends of mine that have spoke on that, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that when you call, I'm always being negative. I'm the downer. I don't want to be that guy. I want to deal with life and I want to deal with the world in a rational manner, but I want to have some fun too. And so I'm working on that. And if some of these videos have been overly negative, pessimistic, that wasn't my intention. So the stuff out there in Seattle, it being so hot, they're saying a lot of people have already died due to the heat wave. They're saying that they paused the streetcar at one point because the power lines were like hanging down. I think the roads had some issues. I think there were some other issues they were talking about out there. I thought it was very interesting and very intriguing to see this because this is what climate change is about. Climate change isn't about some type of like Elysium, like just happening all at once. Climate change is the world becoming more unstable, and it's about how over time things get more volatile. You're gonna have water scarcity. You're gonna have water wars. All these things create what? The possibility of violence, of war. There's a river out in Africa they've talked about that's been drying up for years. I think that looking at what's going on in Canada and Washington put a human face, for me, on this crisis. I think that for a lot of white people, a lot of Americans, period, that they feel as though these are issues that don't matter. That when I talk about people that live beside the rivers, that people that live beside the oceans, and that when the water starts to rise up, the salt water, and it gets on the land, you can't grow anything now. The land's been salted. And I've felt for a long time that for many Americans, they don't care about that. That this is just something they can do, that they can utilize to hurt the lessers, the Africans and people like that who they don't like anyway. And I think this put a human face on it, that no, climate change affects all of us. It affects the poorest first, but it affects all of us in myriad ways. And I think that it just brought it home. I talked to my brother a while back about this, and he didn't take it very seriously. He believes in it. He's not an idiot. Very smart man, but he told me, word for word, he said, that he thought that's something that his daughter had to deal with. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, you're not following this. And many people aren't. Many people don't, it's NIMBY. It's not in my backyard. As long as it isn't happening in my backyard, as long as I don't see it, I don't care about it. And climate change is going to lead to some unique problems. I remember watching a video They were talking about how the water would get brackish or whatever. The water would get messed up. People, talking about different frauds and stuff that would go on. I think climate change will make the world very unstable. And I think that it's important to understand and know that it's serious. And it's interesting to see this going on in Washington right now as we're talking about Republicans blocking Biden's push for infrastructure. I've talked about it before, and I know Biden knows it. I know everybody else on the left knows it. That's got a brain cell. That Republican Party is kind of beyond that now. They're beyond the realm of rationality and reality. A lot of them believe Trump is still the president. They're not. These are not rational actors. And just to take for what I'm gonna do in this next video, to take a second. When they read the UAP document, I think it was it Rubio? Guy from Florida, I believe. He talked about how it's not out of Russia. The UFOs aren't out of China, so who cares? I think that Republicans need an enemy. They need somebody to fear. They need a constant threat. They need something to hate. Because that's what America's based off of. They need something to hate and to fear. And if it isn't communism, if it isn't some serious, significant external threat that they can scream about, like Bin Laden, then they don't really, what can you really do? What can you do about aliens? That alien thing is an issue that is going to take much more research, a lot of funding, and Republicans just want to just deregulate as much as they can for the corporate buddies. They don't care about these issues. I think that we're living in some very unique times, and I think that I'm not saying this too about the aliens. From what I heard, from what I read, from what I understand, they were hovering over government sites. If they can do something to neutralize American nuclear assets all over the world, I support it. I think that America is run by psychopaths. I think this country is we've been moving in a direction of a multi-front war for a very long time. And if the aliens can kind of be like that last, hey, don't do this, I support them. And I'm not going to change my worldview because Joe Biden is president. I have felt for a long time, before Trump, that America is we're going on the line like a blind man off a cliff. And we're just, lack of a better word, we're just slouching towards Gomorrah, as Bork, Supreme Court Justice said. I think we're slouching towards destruction. Like I said, you know what really bothered me? And I thought about this morning when I was in the shower. I thought about this. That what happened in Washington and what's going on in Canada isn't even really a shocker. It's like the mass shootings. These things don't even shock us anymore. It's kind of like, it's kind of like when Trump was saying stupid shit, and after a while, it wasn't even news for him to say stupid shit. That's to me how this heat wave in Washington is, and that's bad. Even me, that's bad. That we're just like, well, heat wave, 100 people died, no big deal. That's bad. That's not a positive development, and we shouldn't be jaded to where we accept things like this. We should acknowledge them, and we should acknowledge that Republicans have created this political atmosphere, this social atmosphere of anti-intellectualism. That it's okay to be anti-intellectual, that it's okay to be stupid, and that the notion of the effete intellectual, the effete liberal, like we should acknowledge this. The Republican Party People should be like, you were wrong. You guys were wrong. Like, they should acknowledge that. And it shouldn't be like, okay, well, this is other news. You know, we've taken a gamble. I want to be clear about it, because so much of what I talk about, I think, here is being a true witness to just American treachery and to the fall of the West. And not that what I'm talking about will lead anywhere. It's like reading, what's the guy? There's a book called, The Demon Haunted World or something. This guy talks about how in the future, like, it'll be soundbite news, and it'll be like a few people on all the news, and like, that's to me what this content is really about. It's just being a witness to the fact that a better world was possible. We didn't have to be in all these wars at the same time. We didn't have to have all this American belligerence threatening people all over the world, and assassinating foreign officials in America committing war crimes. Today, they came out and admitted the Assange stuff. Witness recanted their stuff. I found it interesting that and Cosby's being released as well from prison up here. Same thing. You know, I thought it was intriguing to see this. Now, let's understand, they went after Assange to make a point. Assange exposed American war crimes. They can't let that go. Whether or not, you know, he's released like Cosby or whatever happens to him in Great Britain is irrelevant. The U.S. government simply gave him hell. And they can do that. They want to get you, you know, making you hide in the embassy for years, putting you in a prison with a bunch of criminals, murderers, rapists. That's punishment. Whether or not they get him in America or not is irrelevant. Look, I've been all the money he's lost, paying for lawyers and stuff. So my hope with this content is just to make the point: a better world was possible. You know, that as Putin put a long time ago, 10 years ago, he said that U.S. government, you know, they're leading the world in an irreversible direction. They know what U.S. government's doing, and this is the stuff they do makes the world stage unstable. And I just think that's very important to understand, to acknowledge these heat waves, to acknowledge what other weather phenomena we're dealing with, to acknowledge with the winter storm they had in Texas. All people died. The power outage. They're talking about there'll be another power outage this summer probably in Texas. It's important to acknowledge. We Americans have engaged in a gamble to not invest in climate research, to not invest in strengthening things, strengthening the power grid. We have not done that. We've made the gamble of let's just basically run the car into the wall full speed. That's what America's done. For better in some states and for worse in some states. And I just think that I think it's important to acknowledge this, to not just accept what is coming down the pike, which I think sometimes happens. What I'm saying is, we're like the frog in the pot. You know, you just keep heating the water up, and we're just like, oh, it's a little warmer. It's a little warmer right here. It's a little warmer, you know, until we burn up. Thank you for listening.